May 1st, 1999 is a very special day when it comes to animation, and more specifically, Nickelodeon. This was the first day that SpongeBob SquarePants was released and began its journey into becoming a worldwide phenomenon. It paved the way for future cartoons and carved out a very special style of its own. Whether if you're a fan of the hilarious characters, storylines, or dare I say, memes, this show has so many different things, and more than likely, one of them is probably for you. But what if this show is portraying one of its main characters in a different way than they actually are? We can't forget that SpongeBob is a show that likes to have jokes that go right over kids' heads. For example, Patrick, your genius is showing. So with that in mind, what if SpongeBob's closest friend Patrick isn't really who he is? And what if this is all just some kind of front and there's actually some really disturbing subliminal stuff hidden behind the scenes? Or maybe it's just been hidden in plain sight all along. Let's take a closer look. Hi everyone, I'm Justin with Channel Frederator, and in this episode of Cartoon Conspiracy, we're going to be tackling the very interesting theory that Patrick is indeed a psychopath. You ready? I'm ready. I had to do it. I'm sorry. Here we go.
Are you ready, kids?
So we all know Patrick Star, right? Lovable underwater sea star with seemingly no care in the world, the best friend of main character and legend, SpongeBob SquarePants. Patrick is portrayed in some really interesting ways in SpongeBob, and a lot of people pass him off as being the not so intelligent kind of dim-witted character, but what if that's not the case? What if he's actually a psychopath? That's all fine and dandy, right? But what actually is a psychopath? Dictionary.com states that it's a person with a psychopathic personality which manifests as amoral and antisocial behavior, lack of ability to love or establish meaningful personal relationships, extreme egocentricity, failure to learn from experience, etc. Let's back this up a little bit and pick this apart, starting with the phrase which manifests as amoral and antisocial behavior. Amoral behavior is the real interesting part of this because Patrick does sometimes lose his cool and go off the deep end, usually when things don't really seem to go his way, or even align closely with the thing that he would like, and also sometimes for like no real reason. And a lot of this behavior can be found in the season 1 episode, Nature Pants. In this episode, SpongeBob is thinking about starting a more natural life, and by doing so, he's going to go live with the jellyfish. So with SpongeBob now having this more minimalistic view on life, he's not going to need any of his personal belongings anymore, just like that jar of mayonnaise that he gives Patrick, as well as the legend, or reliable, which is SpongeBob's most prized jellyfishing net. With all of this happening, Patrick gets overridden with sadness, and once SpongeBob leaves, he decides to go and try to catch him as a jellyfish. Yeah, while he begins to chase SpongeBob around, he even says the phrase, "If I can't have you as a friend, I'm going to make you a trophy." Yeah, very creepy stuff. He even picks out the jar that he's going to keep SpongeBob in on his shelf. Yeah, we can't make this stuff up. Patrick then proceeds to chase SpongeBob around jellyfish fields until SpongeBob realizes his big mistake and makes his way back home. But if we think about that whole scene for a second, where SpongeBob is being chased by Patrick, it's kind of void of any logic. Of course, Patrick is sad that SpongeBob isn't home anymore and that he's not going to be able to hang out with him as much as he used to, but he just chases him around the field like a maniac instead of just reasoning with him. But looking further in the series, this crazy out-of-the-ordinary behavior doesn't end there and actually picks up again in the episode Valentine's Day. In this episode, SpongeBob hands out Valentine's Day cards to all of his closest friends, and Patrick gets, as SpongeBob states, the greatest, the bestest, the most fantabulous present, but he can't have it yet. So SpongeBob and Patrick head down to the local carnival where Sandy is setting up for the big reveal for Patrick. How exciting. Sandy starts to fly in on SpongeBob's huge gift to Patrick. It's, stick with me now, a heart-shaped chocolate hot air balloon with a picture of Patrick on it. What a good friend. But then to throw a little bit of convenience into the situation, a giant swarm of chocolate-eating scallops comes out of nowhere and ruins the plan. One bite puts a hole in the balloon and starts to deflate it. SpongeBob begins to break it to Patrick that the plan didn't go too well, and since he has nothing to show for his friend on Valentine's Day, he offers him a friendly handshake. The two friends shake hands, but Patrick is so bitter about this, and to cope with it, he holds his hand out next to his head for the remainder of the day. But SpongeBob and Patrick take a seat, and Patrick lets his friend know that it's okay, and it's just really the thought that counts. Aww. In the end, it's okay, it's alright, it doesn't matter, it's alright, it's just one Valentine's Day. Everything's fine and dandy, right? Whew, happy ending. We'd like to think so, but that actually isn't the case because suddenly all of SpongeBob's acquaintances stop by and thank him for the Valentine's Day gifts that he gave them earlier on in the day. Patrick notices what's going on, he puts two and two together and starts going crazy. He runs around the park ruining everyone's time and trying to destroy all of the carnival rides. He even tries to attack his best friend, SpongeBob, but before he gets the chance, Sandy comes in on a patched up version of his Valentine's Day gift, saving the day. Thank goodness. Which you would think might be the end of this, but stick with us. Going back to the definition of psychopaths, it explains that they're very egocentric and always want themselves to be the main focus and star of the show, and you don't know how long I've waited to use that. Yeah, for reasons unknown, I'm pretty proud of that one. But doesn't this whole freakout situation really fit that mold? Doesn't it seem like Patrick is making a bigger deal of this than is really necessary? It really seems like it, and especially when all the other gift recipients come by and thank SpongeBob, and the sad starfish says, Patrick needs love too, as if he's completely forgot about the fact that SpongeBob just spent the entire day with him. Hanging out at the carnival, trying to have fun, going on all of these rides, he just doesn't see it. It really seems like Patrick just wants things to be about himself and be the main focus. But it's this kind of behavior that really makes us question him. I mean, was all of that really needed? Was it necessary? Did he have to run around the Valentine's Day carnival and just ruin everyone's time? Was it justified? We think not. This is the kind of amoral behavior that we've been talking about this entire episode, and he's not concerned at all with what he's doing and if it's justified. These are all signs of a psychopath. Another example of this behavior can be found in the episode Missing Identity. SpongeBob loses his name tag and Patrick freaks out. It's not even his name tag. And with reasons unknown, Patrick just loses his mind. It's not even explained in the episode, and it's kind of random. As we can see, Patrick isn't really the most stable of characters from the roster of SpongeBob SquarePants, but it doesn't end there. Let's see what else we can pull from that definition. The definition also mentions the lack of ability to love or establish meaningful personal relationships, and as we've seen throughout the entire run of SpongeBob so far, that isn't really Patrick's area of expertise. Could this be because Patrick actually doesn't know what love is? Well, maybe. A strong example of this can be seen in the episode Chocolate with Nuts, a personal favorite of mine. In this episode, Patrick and SpongeBob make their way around town and try to sell people chocolate. One of their potential buyers opens up the door and Patrick randomly says, "I love you." What's up with this? Why does he say it? Does he even know what love means? Probably not. It's really interesting, and actually some scientists have done some studies and found information that some psychopaths are unable to feel or understand love. Could this be a tie with that? Possibly. But our next clue comes from the episode I'm With Stupid, where Patrick is getting ready for his parents to stop by and check out his humble rock. But throughout this entire episode, Patrick is worried that his parents are going to think that he's dumber than last time, which can be seen by the letter that they sent him in the episode. It reads, "Dear Patrick, your mom and I are coming out tomorrow for Starfish Day. Please try to remember, but don't try too hard or you'll hurt yourself like last time. Love, Daddy." Aw, so loving and caring. So SpongeBob sees the letter and volunteers to act dumb and make Patrick look smart, which is an interesting point when examining psychotic behavior. Though SpongeBob willingly volunteers, Patrick starts to take advantage of him and his friendship. The whole situation is kind of weird, and Patrick puts on an "I'm with the dummy" shirt with an arrow pointing towards SpongeBob. It's pretty cruel, but not as bad as when Patrick's family actually show up and buy into the gag. We have to remember that SpongeBob did volunteer here, but he didn't volunteer to be taken advantage of. Patrick begins to take things way too far. It's as if he wasn't really joking anymore. He talks about how annoying SpongeBob is and that he doesn't know how to dress. Jeez. SpongeBob asks for a quick word in the kitchen where he reminds Patrick that it's only part of the plan. He's not actually dumb. But Patrick takes the manipulation a step further and tries to really convince SpongeBob that he's really that dumb. Pretty cruel stuff. SpongeBob then breaks it to Patrick's parents that he's actually smart and that he was just trying to make them appreciate Patrick a little more, but Patrick doesn't let up. He still insists that SpongeBob is dumb and ends up making him lose his mind and run away. What a great friend. Then we find out that these two people aren't even Patrick's real parents. His real parents have been waiting outside Squidward's house all day. This could all tie into the fact that he can't establish a meaningful relationship. I mean, the guy can barely remember who his parents are. It's due to everything that's going on inside Patrick's mind, and we feel that this episode is where this theory really starts to come into play. It proves that Patrick can't form a meaningful relationship and that he's super manipulative. Interesting. But the last huge thing furthering this theory can be found in the episode The Card, where we see the release of the new Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy trading cards, and of course, SpongeBob's a huge fan, and he wants to collect them all. So SpongeBob goes down to his local card shop, buys up every last pack that he can afford, opens them all, and sadly doesn't get the ultra rare card. But then Patrick walks into the card shop, sees the last pack of cards, goes up to the counter, buys it, opens it up, and gets the ultra rare card, and doesn't even know it until SpongeBob has to mention it to him. It's a really funny episode, and throughout the entire thing, SpongeBob protects Patrick because he has that super rare card. Patrick is doing all of this dangerous stuff, and SpongeBob is right behind him protecting him, but SpongeBob is actually just trying to protect the card and not his dear friend. As time passes, Patrick walks straight into Goo Lagoon, and SpongeBob of course freaks out and runs in to save him, bringing him to safety. SpongeBob ends up questioning Patrick and asks him, "Why did you go into Goo Lagoon? Why did you do that?" And Patrick responds with, "SpongeBob, you can't always expect my usual brand of stupidity. I like to mix it up, keep you on your toes." Then Patrick continues to walk across a beam held up by a crane and jumps into a giant pot of fire. Good old Patrick. This is a significant point of the theory because it begs the question, could Patrick just be playing everyone throughout the entire course of the series? We think it could be possible. And the quote that we just heard sort of confirms that Patrick is indeed in on how stupid he really is. It's a really interesting fourth wall break if you ask us. This could most certainly be another trait pointing to Patrick being a psychopath, but how does this theory actually hold up? In the breakdown. So the obvious argument that people have been trying to make is the fact that Patrick just isn't that smart, which we agree with to an extent, but it just seems like there's more to Patrick than just a low level of intelligence. The inability to handle his emotions or understand love, the deep manipulation with SpongeBob in the I'm with stupid episode, or the need to always be the star of the show, pun completely attended again, really does point to him being some sort of psychopath. He does check a lot of the boxes, if not all of them, but we have to remember this is Patrick Star we're dealing with. The dude he's crazy. He's not really the brightest character, but when he drops that line in the episode The Card, it really does make us think differently about him. It really makes us think about the creators and what they're doing behind the scenes and how they intend on portraying the characters at hand. Are they in on this? Did they make Patrick a super secret psychopath? Well, we're just going to have to wait and see as the series continues. So with all of this information, I'd have to rate this theory 3 of Patrick's starfish limbs out of 5. It's pretty interesting. It's really convincing, but we don't really know yet for sure. Do you? We want to know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Is Patrick super smart? Is he intelligent? Is he a psychopath? Or is he just good old Patrick Star? Let us know in the comment section down below. And if you have a theory that you want to see covered here on Channel Frederator, let us know. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button to show your support for the channel and be notified when any new uploads go live, as well as episodes of Cartoon Conspiracy every Thursday. Click that little bell icon to be notified when new uploads go live and to become part of that awesome notification squad. You can check out more from me in the description down below. And as always, I'm Justin, aka Scoutfly, and don't forget, Frederator loves you.